bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. How you doing? How you doing? It's Wednesday, April 10th, 2019. 100 days into the new year, just 265 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is crackin'? What a great week on the show. And continuing that tradition of the brightest and the best, tonight, for the first time, very special guest, UFO researcher and author MJ Banias is here. We're going to talk about his new book. It is called The UFO People. And I have read it, and I'm just going to say this is a book for everyone. Whatever aspect of ufology you fall yourself you fall into, I should say. This is the book. You've got to get this book. Okay, it's called The UFO People. And we're going to get into this in depth tonight. And it's written from a perspective that I was speaking to MJ before the show. I wish I would have written this book. You know, it's really that good. So check it out. We'll get the links up for everybody. You can certainly go to his website, too, and the links are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. And we'll get them up there in Twitter, and you can go and check it out. I believe that the book right now is available in Kindle, and then the full release, I think, is tomorrow the next day, and so you can go and get it right now. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long, okay? And I'm sure we're going to be discussing this book tomorrow night. It's a page turner. It's really, really well done. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do, at JChurchRadio. I'm looking here. MJ just popped up here in Twitter. Let me go back and just get this. It's oh man, you guys tweet too much, man. I cannot keep up with this. Okay, well, anyway, MJ's up there on Twitter, too. He's already in the sandbox, so you can go and follow MJ, too, as well. Okay, hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black. Questions, you can also email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com, and we do have 2 chat rooms, one in Spreaker and one over at KGRA, The Planet. All right, let's get to the breaking news. Let's get this out of the way first. Because today, I announced this last night, and it happened. It really did. The first image of a black hole was released today. The supermassive black hole and its shadow are at the center of a galaxy known as M87. Now, in the press release yesterday, they were talking about Sagittarius A. So maybe that's going to be next, okay? Because in the subtext, a little side note of the press release was a mention of M87, but that's not what they said was going to be the photograph today. They said it was going to be Sagittarius A, but turned out to be M87. In the image, when you look at it, you've got the black hole in the middle, and then it's got a ring of light around it, and then it's brighter on one side. It's a very, very interesting image. The galaxy, called Messier 87 or M87, is near the Virgo galaxy cluster, 55 million light years from Earth. The supermassive black hole has a mass that is about 6.5 billion times that of our sun. Absolutely incredible day, not only for news and for this community, but for the world and for everybody here living on this planet. That is an amazing picture. I'm looking at it here, and we've seen all of the illustrations, right? The artwork of black holes over the years, but there it is. There is the first image of a black hole. That is absolutely incredible. Incredible. And it makes you wonder what the bright side is, right? Yeah, think about that. It's not what everybody thought, too. All right, today, Michael Avenatti, right, the attorney, was the subject of a federal warrant. Happened today that resulted in the seizure of his private jet worth about $4.5 million. The U.S. Attorney's Office confirmed that federal agents seized a Honda HA420 twin-engine jet from the Santa Barbara airport right here in Southern California at 10 a.m. this morning after a federal judge issued a warrant. Now, it turns out he's got two jets, right? And apparently he was going to fly today. There was a flight schedule on his behalf, and maybe he was going to surrender the jet or fly out of the country, right? We don't know. But the feds jumped in before he had a chance to get on the plane and absolutely just took it. They ended up flying it to like Chino or someplace. Chino, California. I think that's where they flew it. Flew it to Chino, and it's being held there by the feds. They don't know if this is the closure of his tax deal that he owes like $18 million in taxes. I think that's what it is. Or he made $18 million, but he hasn't filed taxes in 10 years. That's for sure. And he's deposited $38 million in one account. Hasn't paid any federal taxes, but he was able to buy a couple of planes. Michael Avenatti. Now, we also don't know if he's going to go after if they're going to go after his second plane. There you go, Michael Avenatti. All right, announced today. I'm a big, Rita and I are big TV people. And whether it's television series or documentaries or movies, we have a pretty complex setup. And that's what it has turned into today is this a la carte, which I enjoy, right? This a la carte way of watching TV. You're not bound to one TV service, right? There's tons of them. Well, today, YouTube television. Now, when you go and buy a smart TV today, it comes with all of this preloaded software, and then you start spend. A lot of people think they're cutting the cable, right? They're cutting the cable. They're not going to be spending that money, But it's not really the case, because if you start adding up things and you look at what your monthly bill is, well, today, YouTube television is raising their subscription prices to $49.99 per month. That's right. $49.99 per month. The Google-owned company announced the price hike in a blog post earlier today. AT&T recently announced plans to raise the price of its own DirecTV Now, which is another subscription service, right? So they've raised the prices on that. And Hulu has just raised the price of its live TV product by $5 a month to $45 a month. Netflix has just raised its prices, and the market is really, really getting crowded. I mean, just get a smart TV, start poking around, and look at all of the apps with subscriptions on them, right? Oh, you can get them all for free, but then when you want to watch something, you have to pay for it, right? $10 a month or up or more. So some are less, not really. And if you're going to pay less, you're going to get commercials, right? Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. Apple just moved into the streaming business. That was announced last month. And both Disney and Warner Media are planning their own services as well. So, yes, it's starting to get very crowded. And you can top all of that off with T-Mobile, who today announced its new T-Vision, television, right? Get it? T-Mobile, T-Vision platform. Again, another streaming service. It's nuts. Nuts. You start adding all of this up and you're thinking, man, I should have just kept my cable. I should have just kept my cable. You start poking around and the next thing you know, you got Netflix and Hulu Premium and DirecTV and Amazon, and you're paying for all of these new movies. And it's really strange because sometimes DirecTV gets them first. The new movie, sometimes it's Amazon. Amazon's always a couple of bucks cheaper. One is always first and in front of the other one, and sometimes one has it over the other. And you start cracking at those at $19.99 for a purchase, and you do that a few times a month. Right? And then the rentals, $6.99. You're like, okay, yeah, we'll watch it. Yeah, no big deal. We'll watch it. And the next thing you know, you're dealing with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars per month, and then go and purchase a TV series from the $50, right? Or it's really funny too because it'll be $50 for the series or $10 per episode. It's just like, all right, yeah, it's a crowded market. Okay, other big news today. I don't know if it went down, actually. It was supposed to. I didn't get a chance to check this out right before the show. So let me see if it actually happened yet. Okay, I don't see it here. I thought the announcement would have happened already. Falcon X, the Falcon Heavy, SpaceX's Falcon Heavy, the most powerful launch vehicle in the world today, was going to make its first commercial flight between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which that window is passed. So I don't know if it launched. Can somebody give me an update right here on Twitter? I thought I would get a yes or no announcement on the launch. And it was going to carry up the Arabsat 6A communication satellite into geostationary orbit over the Middle East. And it's called live radio. I don't have the update. So was it postponed? It was scrubbed. According to Frankie Fourfingers, he says it's scubbed, but I'm assuming, okay, the launch is tomorrow now. Falcon did not launch. Okay, there you go. That's why it wasn't announced. Well, you would think that they would announce the postponement. Okay, canceled. There you go. And don't forget to get the Surfer music streaming app, SURFR. And you can go to surfr.fm. I love doing this because it's right here on my phone. There it is. The Surfer music streaming app. Get it. Download it. You don't have to give up. Hey, the category alternative, love, caliente, Christian rock, country, EDM. They got EDM for all of you EDM fans out there. Hip hop, jazz, oldies, pop, rave, rock. They got raga. That's right. They've got raga. R&B. It's all there. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s right there. Okay? Get the Surfer music streaming app. Super fun, super easy, super cool. You don't give up any of your privacy, your email, nothing like that. All you're going to do is download it. Click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. Coming up next month, that's right. I can't believe it. It's April 10th. Coming up next month is Contact in the Desert, May 31st through June 3rd in Indian Wells, Palm Springs, California at the Renaissance Indian Wells Resort and Spa. Tickets and info at contactinthedesert.com. Coming up right after that is our 2019 Soul Tech Conference. It's over the July 4th weekend at the beautiful Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado. You can sign up for tickets and info right now at soultechgathering.com. Also, head over to Facebook and join our Soul Tech official Facebook page. It's really cool. And Holly Marie's going to be doing an AMA over there, so you've got to go and check that out. All right, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. I do have an announcement to make. The podcast from here out, starting today, actually, commercial-free, editing the commercials out for the podcast. So for all of you out there that have been enjoying the podcast for the last 5 years, those will now be commercial-free as of today. So yesterday's episode on the podcast is commercial-free. And we're going to be doing sort of the same thing over on YouTube as well. Well, this is a live show. This is a live stream. Commercials are here. That's right. Okay. You can become a Fadernaut over in our membership section on the site. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com and sign up right there. And if you become a game changer, which is there, you get those shirts and hats autographed. You get the bunker cam, you get a private email to me, and you get access to all of our archives, commercial-free, downloadable MP3s, optimized audio, crystal clear, amazing. Okay, so you can do all of that in our membership section of the site. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Now, this is weird. This is the universe. This is how the universe works. And if you don't think it's an electric universe, if you don't think that there is something going on, yesterday, I happened to mention in my opening rant the movie AI, right? I did in my rant. And I was talking about light beings. I was talking about the end of the movie and how E.T. was represented. And I mentioned Haley Joel Osment. Couldn't remember his name yesterday, but I did remember his name eventually. But anyway, I mentioned him yesterday. It just popped in my head. Today, it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Haley Joel Osment. How crazy is that? He is 30 years old. Did you see, what was that? Was that the new version of the X-Files? What, he was in something with Mulder and Scully, or was that Black Mirror? The one where the AI, the robots were taking over. I think that was Haley. All right, anyway, on this day in history, 1970, OTD, Paul McCartney announces the breakup of the Beatles officially on this day, April 10th, 1970. Here's your fader fact. All right, here's your fader fact. The Himalayan honeybee. Now, I want you to listen to me. The Himalayan honeybee, the largest, the biggest of all of the honeybees, makes a hallucinogenic honey. It does. It does. And if you think the Himalayan honeybee is the only one that knows about it, well, now you do. But so do the locals. That's right. Well, let's just say that they know what it is, and they like to collect it. There you go. That's a fact. You didn't know that, did you? You didn't know that. The Himalayan honeybee. All right, tonight, UFO researcher, author M.J. Banias is here, and we're going to be talking about his new book, and it is called The UFO People. And we're going to be discussing this throughout the show tonight. It's an incredible book, and we'll get the links up right now for it in Twitter, and you can, of course, click on the links over at jimmychurchradio.com and Terra Obscura, and it'll take you straight there, and you can get the book there, too, as well. Okay, now, tomorrow night is open lines all night long. Okay? All right? It's Fader night. Let me hit this coffee, and I'm excited about the show. Couple of things, and we're going to be touching upon these subjects tonight with MJ. But the book is called The UFO People, and as I have been reading it over the last week or so, a lot of memories came flooding back. And one of the idea for the book is us, right? This UFO community of ours. That's the foundation of the book. But it just got me thinking on so many different aspects of it, of what this community is. And I want to say this. The way that I feel about this community is that it's a very open community, and that you are able to express and talk about things that you would never, ever talk about at work, with your family, maybe, right? With your friends. But you can go to a conference, or you can go to a show like this, or you can hang out in the sandbox or the chat rooms. And I've seen it. It's going to happen tonight. People are just going to talk, and they're going to open up. And that is one of the beautiful aspects of us. And there's a couple of myths about the UFO community that I don't necessarily agree with. And one of them, and I'm going to talk about this tonight with MJ, one of them is that this is a white man's boys club kind of thing. And I think that's old school talk. I think that is from the past, or people that have never been a part of the community. They make this observation from the outside. I think it couldn't be farther from the truth. There's that part of it in that, and also that it's an older crowd. It's an older generation. And and although MJ doesn't necessarily address this in the book about ages or race or gender or anything like that, but that's what this community is. It's a very open. I've said it so many times before. It's like a rainbow coalition where we can just all get together. Because when I look around, sometimes I feel like I'm the only guy in the room, right? So many women represented. Sometimes I feel like I'm the oldest guy in the room. I really do, because I can look around and I'm like, oh, somebody older than me right over there. This is great. Because at every conference that I speak at, and if you've ever had the privilege to get to a conference and attend one, and then you get, you're out there and you see what I do. I'll always call out the oldest and the youngest in the audience, and I'll give them shirts. And I'm usually quite surprised because I have hit, I think one time, didn't we, Rita? I have to ask Rita this. I think we met a lady that drove a long ways with her daughter, and she was 100 years old. She was 100. And at each conference, I'm just shocked where I'll have kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, and sometimes many of them. And we've got to have a little discussion as to who is younger, right? And I will always take those pictures. And that's what I see. I see such a young average age these days, right? And I think that everybody is represented. I see everybody from all around the planet and different countries and from different backgrounds, and you would just never guess. And that's where we are today. It is totally different. And the reason why I think that is is because in the years past, in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, it was a different way to research, and those were young people at one point. Those crowds got older. They still stayed with ufology, but we kind of skipped a generation. Today, and certainly through the 1990s and 2000s, leading up to now, and this is now 2019, is that with science and the availability of information out there, those that were interested in the UFO subject now know more about science and space and the galaxy and the Milky Way and the universe and how many planets and stars are out there and the question of alien life, more life being out there it's 100%. Of course there is. So that's what is causing this brand new influx into our community. And that's the way that I see it today. It's not like it was before. I remember reading, and I was reading, this is in the late 90s, I was reading about different UFO conferences and, newspaper articles and articles about this and things, and a couple of videos where they're attending these conferences that were flooded with gray hairs, right, blue hairs. And that's what was attending these conferences, and that the attendees and was down and was low. That's not the case today. There are UFO conferences everywhere. Contact in the Desert this year is going to have 7,000 attendees. Conscious Life Expo, 15,000. Think about that. Alien Con, chuck in another. I've heard different numbers there, 7,000, 10,000, 15,000. And that's going down here at the Los Angeles Convention Center here in a couple of months. So it's not that kind of party anymore. And that's what this is about. That's what this community is. And that's what this book is about. It's an amazing book. So we're going to talk about all of that. Our guest tonight is MJ Banias. I am your host, Jimmy Church. The book is called The UFO People. I'll be right back after this short break with tonight's guest, MJ. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hey folks, guess what the number one phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea. We love this tea. Time after time, week after week, we love this tea. Life Change Tea gives you more energy. a beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly, the tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, MJ Banias. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Man, I just love hanging out with all of you. It's great. That's tomorrow night. Tonight, it's MJ. He's an educator. He's an author. His blog, Terra Obscura, which we read avidly around here at Fade to Black, by the way, critically examines how philosophy and culture affect society's understanding of anomalous phenomena, including UFOs. He has been interviewed on many podcasts and radio shows, and his work has been featured in Fortean Times Magazine, Fate Magazine, and in the book UFOs Reframing the Debate. MJ is a regular contributor to the website Mysterious Universe and hosts his own YouTube channel. His first book, The UFO People, A Curious Culture, is coming out tomorrow, I believe. It may be the next day. We've got the links up there now. And he lives up in Canada with his wife, 2 children, and a massive cat. Tonight, we're going to talk about that new book, The UFO People, and the current state of our UFO community. His website is terraobscura.net. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, MJ Banias. MJ, good evening. How are you?
I'm honored to be here. I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Man, you know, this is the deal, and I love doing this, MJ. You're a first-time guest, which means you get the first-time guest disclaimer. So, which is, MJ, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. Right? That's it. Are you ready to go?
It sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, the next time you come on the show, you don't get the first-time guest disclaimer. So, you know, just enjoy it. Okay? So let's actually start here, because we have, first off, we have a very large Canadian audience, which you know about this. We have a very large Canadian audience. There's a lot of stuff that goes on north of the United States. The United States does not have a moratorium on all things UFO, although it seems that way sometimes to the rest of the world. But that's not the case. A lot of stuff goes on up there, and a lot of stuff goes on in your neighborhood. Now, from where you grew up, is that where the fascination started? Because things were always going around you up in the skies and your friends and everything else. What got you started into this?
Well, first of all, I'm one of those weird UFO people that's never actually seen a UFO. So I'm in a very select and small grouping. I have to be honest, Winnipeg, where I live, as well as sort of my surrounding area, is generally a weird place. We do have a lot of sort of paranormal activity happening. There's a lot of haunted locations. We do have our fair share of cryptids that are sort of seen around the forests. And we do have our fair share of UFO sightings. I was a MUFON field investigator for a while, so I definitely was sort of privy to a lot of that. But I'll be honest, my personal interest began, I think, when I was a kid. My parents, when I was quite young, allowed me to watch, television I probably shouldn't have. I was watching X-Files and The Outer Limits and, all those sort of strange paranormal ufological shows, all those documentaries on all the, Science Channel and History Channel and all that. They raised a really messed up kid. So, good on them. But that's kind of where it all started for me. I think how most kids get started. You sort of have a weird childhood and weird upbringing. And then you just kind of fall into it, I suppose.
Well, okay. Now that's a good place to start. Your approach to things. Okay, this book is written about the community and some of the personalities that are inside and outside of this community, and you wrote it from that perspective. But there's also a pretty cool way that you start the book off, in that you went to MUFON and you were expecting a few things to happen, and I would too as well. But you also mentioned in the book, and I just want you to explain this, that you had already been investigating UFOs when you went to MUFON, that you had already had cases and situations that were handed to you and that you were already checking out. Explain that. Were you some independent investigator before MUFON?
Sure. Yeah. So when I was in university, a lot of my university work based around cultural studies and theory. So I was really interested in subcultures in particular and how communities form around like certain ideas. So if you look at UFOs, for example, there's definitely a UFO community that sort of hovers around this UFO question. When I left university, I sort of got married, got a job, did all that. And there was a temporary sort of period where I met up with some local paranormal investigators, and I began working with them. I wasn't really sort of doing a lot of investigations, but more sort of helping them with email and their website and just doing the more technical stuff, because I really wanted to get to know them. I really wanted to get to know them as people and why they were going to people's houses in the middle of the night and looking for ghosts, right? Mm-hmm. And they got a case that was emailed in about sort of an alien abduction case. And then what started to happen was a few more cases came in regards to UFO sightings, and no one really, like the people who were sending them in didn't know what to do with them. This is a paranormal group, so we'll send it to you, I guess, and it's an abduction case, or it's a UFO case, or it's a, UFO sighting case. So I started to kind of deal with them myself, because the paranormal group wasn't really interested. They were more interested in ghost hunting. And for me, this was something a little more, my speed. So I picked up a few cases, and I got in touch with another local UFO investigator, researcher, and author named Chris Rutkowski, who lives in Winnipeg. He's written several books on UFOs. Mm-hmm. And we started kind of working together, and I started writing about some of my cases and my experiences, sort of being with these different sort of experiencers and witnesses. And I wrote my own blog, and then eventually I sort of realized I had to get my hands really dirty. Being an armchair researcher was fine, but I needed to kind of get into the field And so I decided to become a MUFON field investigator, and sort of it kind of took off from there. I was a MUFON field investigator for about 2.5 years. Did tons and tons of sighting reports, looked at a lot of star charts and maps and pictures of Venus, and it sort of took off from there, I suppose. And I wrote a book about it.
Now, I didn't pull up the specific quote, but there's a line in it that I really enjoyed when you said, when you joined MUFON, you were expecting, the grandiose things, right? The sightings. Yeah. Maybe you were going to get abducted, right? That you were excited about everything, and it turned out to be, well, it's a lot of work, but that didn't happen, did it?
No. I talk about how I sort of, I got my MUFON field investigator's ID badge or whatever it was, and I was like, this is the coolest thing in the universe. And, in reality, it is like the least coolest thing in the universe. But to me at the time, it was like, this is the coolest thing. And I pictured myself sort of, dressed as Fox Mulder in my Toyota Camry, ripping down some highway, chasing some flying saucer. And obviously that never happened. It is, the best way to describe UFO sort of field investigation is it's very tedious. You deal with these sighting reports, and then you have to collect a whole bunch of data from the witnesses, from direction to altitude to apparent size to where they were. You need to have like coordinates, longitude and latitude, and you basically kind of need to piece this picture together. And then you look at like flight data, you look at star charts of where Venus was, where the International Space Station was. Like, it would literally take tons and tons of hours to figure out that what they saw was sort of, something very prosaic. But what I loved about it wasn't so much the investigation and doing all that work. What I loved about it was meeting the people and interviewing them and speaking to them, because UFO witnesses are incredibly interesting people, and they come from all different walks of life. And they're all sort of drawn together by this phenomenon, whatever it is. And so they're incredibly unique and wonderful. So I loved talking with them and meeting with them. And that's sort of, again, what kind of led me down this path to write a book about them.
Now, as you started to get into the UFO community, and where you are today, certainly you wrote this book, and your blog definitely comments about the state of the union when it comes to our UFO community today, and it's all well written. But did you have what was your thought of, what was your perception of what the UFO community was going to be versus what you have learned today? What did you think going in versus where you are now?
Wow, yeah, that's such a good question. I think I started off with the idea that I think I began where kind of most people begin. I think I began with this idea that the entire UFO community was crazy, and then as it took me 4 years of research and probably 2 years of writing to do this book. But within that time, I realized that in fact there's nothing crazy at all about them. Sure, there's sort of kooky people, but generally, the vast majority of the UFO community is incredibly stable, incredibly sane, and they've just experienced something that they can't explain. Or they're people like me who pursue something that's unexplainable, and nobody has any idea why. So it's definitely changed. It's definitely kind of gone from I had a lot of preconceived biases and preconceived ideas that obviously changed the more digging I did and the more research I did and the more people I met in this community. So I don't really have like a better answer than that, because I think my ideas are still changing even today, and they probably will change within 5 years.
What I think most people find out about the UFO community is that it's a cross section of us, just in general. And you can sit and talk about food or sports or politics or religion or families and kids and have the absolutely most normal conversation possible, right? And then you find out, and let it swing into abductions or the UFO phenomenon. And then you find out how passionate the very, very same people that you would think, like you're saying, are just normal, right? Completely sane, but this is a very personal thing for them, isn't it?
It is. And I was having this conversation with Mark O'Connell, who wrote the book, The Close Encounters Men. We were talking about how there's this massive sort of silent majority that don't ever talk about the things they've seen or the things that have happened to them. And I will often be in social situations, I'll be at parties, whatever, where, my wife will be in this party, and my wife will sort of start telling people that I wrote a book, and they start, they're very curious. What's your book about? And it's about UFOs. And suddenly, people look at you funny. But then by the end of the party, you've had maybe 80% of the people speak to you one-on-one, telling you their story, or telling you, this happened to my mom, or this happened to my dad, or this happened to my grandfather, or this happened to my sister. And suddenly you realize that all of those people who kind of, when they were in the group, kind of thought you were odd or thought you were strange or whatever, you suddenly realize that the vast majority of them have stories to tell that are ufological in nature, or at least paranormal in nature. And then all of a sudden you're getting their emails and they want to talk more. So I think that there's this large number of people who aren't in the UFO community, but really ought to be. And I think it's a massive chunk of the population. I think the UFO enigma, whatever it is incredibly pervasive. I think it's everywhere. And it affects a lot of people. It just, nobody talks about it. And, like you say, right, it's sort of this cross-section of the mainstream population, or sort of the quote-unquote normal population. It spans the gap of sort of extreme kookiness to just like the most normal vanilla guy you've ever met in your life.
Now, the book, and it's interesting how you took the approach to this. The book is centered around, and I like the way that you wove it, because it's not completely about Amy, but it is around, who she is as an example of someone in the UFO community that you would not expect to be an experiencer like this. And you talk about how you met Amy, which we're going to do now, and then how this book developed around her and her experiences, which turn out to be some of the most profound, and we were talking about that earlier today, some of the most profound experiences one person could have, but you didn't expect anything. Tell us about Amy.
Yeah, Amy. I met Amy through a MUFON case report, but we quickly sort of became fast friends when I realized that she was having multiple UFO sightings over her property, and she didn't approach it from. She didn't approach it as someone who is well versed in UFO lore, right? She sort of said, "I'm seeing these things. I have no idea what they are, and that's it. Like I don't know what else to tell you." And
she's married. She lives on a farm.
Yes. Oh, sure. Yeah. So she lives on a farm. She's married. She was a former flight attendant. So she's well versed in sort of aircraft, and she's just just the nicest person you'll ever meet. And her husband is incredibly kind as well. He's the kind of guy who would give you the shirt off his back, even if he didn't ask for it. And they're both quite skeptical. And he's the kind of guy who, he would probably laugh off UFOs, but, Amy saw one, therefore, like they damn well exist now because, she says so. So it was this strange moment where you had this couple really wanting you to help them, but they knew you couldn't, and everyone knows you can't. But I started to sort of collect their stories, and she's had multiple UFO sightings. She's seen about 6 or 7 now. I talk about 4 or 5 in the book because that's kind of where the number ended when the book was published, as well as sort of the effects of these sightings on her. So not only did she sort of witness these craft, not only is she sort of potentially missing some time somewhere in there, but she's also had other sort of paranormal experiences as a result. Just like we sort of hear about in the ufological mythology, there is now some heightened sense of awareness, potentially some ability, higher intuition, potentially some precognitive ability, sort of having almost prophetic-like dreams in her sleep. as well as sightings or sort of communication with what we would sort of say the spirits of the dead, let's say. So she sort of had this initial sighting, and then as a result, a whole bunch of other stuff changed in her, and drew out of her some sort of strange, I don't know, I don't want to use the term ability, but some sort of strange, ability is the only word I can think of at this moment.
No, it's the right word it's the right word to use.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
She felt like she was a magnet. And but there's one other aspect to this that needs to be mentioned, which is exactly what the book title is about. Her husband's an engineer, right? They're successful. They've got a nice place. They've got, they're part of the community. And you don't want to be necessarily known as the UFO people in the neighborhood, but if you know what I mean. But it's also for our community, it's refreshing to know that a couple like this is having these experiences, and they're trying to figure out what is going on. He is supporting his wife, right? He's an engineer. He's successful. Right, but they've got this enigma in their lives that they're trying to figure out, and that is such an interesting thing when it comes to Amy and her husband, because her experiences are insane.
They are, and this is sort of what the book sort of hinges on a lot. Is you have individuals who kind of live in two worlds, right? They have their sort of regular everyday life. They go to Starbucks or whatever. They drive their kids to dance class. They have their jobs. They go to work, whatever. And then on the other side, they have these strange experiences, right? These paranormal experiences, these anomalous experiences that make no sense and sort of almost act in direct contradiction to their daily life. So they exist in this sort of they live in these two worlds, right? They still need to function in their regular everyday life. He still needs to go to work. She still needs to kind of do her thing and go to work and live in her community. But she's also someone who has come face to face multiple times with things that should not exist, or things that ought not to exist according to mainstream culture or according to daily life. So they sort of exist in this dual realm, right? This sort of this mythological yet real existence. That's sort of what the book sort of tries to extrapolate on, I suppose.
Now, we're going to head towards a break right here. I'm going to ask you two direct questions that you can answer quickly. She starts off, she writes a segment in the book, and she starts off with a very simple sentence: I believe UFOs are real, or I believe in UFOs, right? Mm-hmm. Do you, MJ?
Do I believe that people see strange things?
No, do you believe that UFOs are real?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Next question. Because there's a method to my madness, MJ. Okay. So, and she says something else. She's got a lot of evidence and photographs. Have you seen those?
I have.
And?
I state in the book kind of the photographs contain nothing that is usable that would sort of provide. It literally dots in the sky in a giant blue sky. I wish it was something more. I've tried zooming in. I've tried every single photo technique to try and pull data out of those things, but unfortunately, the photos are just too mundane.
Yeah, because she tells this story about this sighting, and she's taking out her phone to take pictures, and this craft is like getting ready to knock her over, right? I mean, it's like right there, and it's a saucer, and she's looking at the bottom of it, and it's coming right over, and she's snapping pictures. It flies away, and then there was a missing time element there because she went back and looked at her pictures on the phone. She thought it happened when 11 in the morning, right? Something like that. But the timestamps on the photograph said what?
It was like 5 p.m., I believe. It was in the early evening.
It was in the early evening. Yeah. And so, did you see that sequence of pictures that she attempted to take?
I have seen every single picture she's taken in regards to UFOs, and unfortunately, there's nothing in them that that is useful, or that I could sort of point to as being evidence of something strange or anomalous.
Now, when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about this a little bit further, because it was an extraordinary event. And when you read it in the book, it's like the most insane page turner that you could possibly read, right? But when you go back and you look at the photographs and you listen to her account recounting the story, they don't line up. And for you, what do you do with that?
Well, as a UFO investigator, or as someone who's an investigator, you simply have to say, listen, I can't explain it. But you also have to sit on that line of, because I don't have evidence, I can't necessarily say it's alien or interdimensional or whatever, right? You have to kind of you have to live in this I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and you're forced into, you can't prove that it happened, and you can't prove that it didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting situation to be, because also you have a relationship with her and her husband now, and you have to take all of that into account too as well. Fascinating stuff. It's a great read. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, MJ Banias. His new book is called The UFO People. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll pick up where we left off. We're talking about Amy, and then we're going to go deep. There's a lot of stuff here. It's going to be impossible to get it all in tonight, but the links for the book are up in Twitter. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fade or not, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Cordelia, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow MJ at MJ Banias on Twitter. Very simple. We're talking about his new book. It is called The UFO People. Now, before the break, MJ, the central figure, the way that you've set up the book in a very smart way is Amy. And Amy represents just about everybody that I know, every experiencer. And in that, it's not just about UFOs. It's not for her. And let's discuss that for a second. But the unbelievable event where she is snapping these pictures, I want to discuss that because it's what happens after that. And then the event at the neighbor's house right after that. And when you tell about Amy's experiences, I can't tell you how many people in this audience are going to go, yep, happened to me, right? Happened to me. Right. And it's a very strong example of what people go through. And Amy's story is incredible. So take us to that moment where she's, sees this. It's a saucer, by the way. There's no other way to describe it as that. She sees in her backyard, and she goes out. What happens?
Sure. So she's going out to feed the cats that sort of live in her barn. She lives in a farm, so there these large barns, and there's multiple cats that live in the barn. So she's on her way to feed them, and as she's heading towards the barn in what she thought to be was the morning, she looks up into the sky and sees this. Like you say, a large sort of saucer-like craft sort of hovering and moving sort of slowly over her, basically. And she looks up and obviously has this sort of crushing feeling, right? As if this thing's going to just come down and squash her, right? This feeling like she's being watched, this feeling like this great anxiety of like they know who I am, almost like she's prey, and this thing's the predator, and it sort of has her cornered, and the only thing she sort of does is she literally ducks, like she literally crouches down and ducks, hoping that this thing doesn't land on her head, and moments go by, and then I guess her brain turns back on, and she says, I should try and take a photo of this. And she pulls out her phone to start snapping photos. And according to her, she thinks she has some great shots, clearly, of some massive, saucer-like object. And the thing kind of sort of goes up into the sky and then sort of takes off away from her. But when she looks at the photographs, one, there's nothing really in them apart from a tiny little black dot that is sort of almost like you can barely see it in the picture, and a timestamp that no longer makes sense, right? She feeds her cats in the morning, so why would those pictures be taken at 5 in the afternoon?
Let's back up a little bit here, because she gives one of the most incredible descriptions of this craft. In vivid detail, she says that the bottom of the craft is perfectly in focus. It's a saucer. It's silver. And then the top half of the craft is a little fuzzier with a clear dome. And the most fascinating part, she says things moving around inside of it, like how did she describe it? Like a lightning storm, a multicolored.
Yeah, almost like I think the best way to describe it is you used to have those when you were a kid, those round balls that had that sort of electrode right in the middle, and it would sort of arc all over the place in sort of multiple colors.
Mm-hmm.
And you put your hand on it, right, and then like one arc would, I can't remember what they're called, but it was like this sort of like a lightning storm of purple and red and blue and green sort of happening inside the craft. But she got a very brief look at the top, so. I think her description is amazing. She's a published writer, so she sort of has definitely the gift of gab in that sense. But what I think is more interesting is that this thing sort of revisits her multiple times throughout her sort of short period dealing with this so far, sort of within a few years, but it also doesn't always look the same, right? She's seen multiple objects in the sky, and every time there's something different. One of her initial sightings was almost like a cigar-shaped craft, except it was vertical with sort of these jutting out sort of crystal-like orbs and shards, and it was almost like a hotel was parked in front of her window in size, and it was just this tall sort of building-like cigar-like structure heading straight up. So whatever is happening, she's having multiple different experiences and multiple different, I guess, visions or interpretations of what this phenomena is. And
now it's gotten to the point where she says that every day, she wakes up, and every night she's looking out the window expecting to see something.
Yeah. And to this day, she still sees them every once in a while. She'll send me an email, maybe once every week or two saying, this happened, or I saw this, or I had this weird feeling. So clearly, as I sort of explain in the book, she's definitely being haunted by something, right? It's for some reason pursuing her. And obviously we don't know why that is. That is really the big question of the UFO phenomenon.
Well, and then let's go straight to it. There's the next part of the book, which is called "The Woman on the Porch." So Amy is out walking her dogs, and I'll let you pick it up from there.
So she's actually going to feed the dogs at her neighbor's house. So her neighbor's away,
right?
Her neighbor's away on a trip, and she asked Amy to take care of the dogs, let them out, go for a run and get food or whatever. So she's heading to her neighbor's house, and the walk is not very long. I think it's about 5 or 8 minutes, she states, to the next house. And as she gets onto the driveway, and it's quite long, like the driveway walk alone is a minute. And she sort of, as she's walking down this driveway, the minute-long walk, she realizes it has taken her a lot longer than normal. She sort of gets to the down the driveway, and she feels as if, like 5 or 6 minutes has gone by, like this, like as if, like she's walking, but like she's not making any progress. Anyway, she gets to the dogs, and as she's walking past the front door and the porch of this farmhouse, there's a woman sitting inside the porch. She sort of waves and says hi. The woman sort of just glares at her, holding her cup of coffee. And Amy sort of thinks, well, it must be, a friend or a neighbor or the woman's sister or something. So she sort of ignores her, says hi, gets no response, and lets the dogs out, or goes to let the dogs out. And the dogs sort of sit inside the garage, like they don't leave. They almost seem nervous. So she sort of kind of goes in, gives them some food, wonders why they don't want to leave, heads back to the porch, and sort of sees this woman who's sort of now standing up, glaring at her out of one of the sort of screened in sort of windows. And eventually this woman just sort of walks through a door back into the house. So Amy, not really thinking about it, goes back to the dogs, and suddenly the dogs are fine. They get up, they start running around, and she feels really uneasy about this. So she goes inside the house and realizes that the door the woman walked through was not only bolted shut, it has like moving boxes that are full stacked in front of it. So this woman in the porch just walked through a door that is totally unable to open.
Yeah, it's blocked.
Yeah, it's totally blocked. So one house is possible. And anyway, to make a long story short, the neighbor comes home sort of several days later, and Amy sort of talks about this woman that was in this porch, and she sort of describes her. She has glasses, sort of older looking, but not not like an old lady, but in her, I think, mid-60s, cup of coffee, whatever. And the neighbor finds a photograph of someone and says, was this her? And Amy's like, yeah, that's her 100%. And the neighbor says, oh, that's my mother. She died like 2 years ago. And it was quite sudden, and it was from like cancer, and it came on quite quickly. And Amy obviously has this emotional moment, and the neighbor bursts into tears, and it's obviously this sort of incredible emotional moment between them. And I spoke to the neighbor, and she was able to confirm the story that Amy told me this, and this is sort of how it played out, and there was no contradiction between Amy's story and the neighbor's story when I spoke to her. It sort of happened as Amy told me, and it was fascinating to sort of have this sort of a pretty well documented sort of, I guess you could call it, ghost story that really blew my mind at how amazing it was, and just the correlation between the UFO sightings and how she felt when she saw the UFO and how she felt when she saw this person, the sort of the weird time discrepancy of walking down the driveway, right? That 1 minute walk that ended up being sort of 6 or 7 minutes, like what was going on, right, during these lost minutes of time, and how that often happens within various paranormal sightings and paranormal events.
Yeah. Are these things connected? And that's the question. Are they connected? And this is what is fascinating with me, is that you lay out really well with Amy's background and story, and then jumping into subcultures, and that's what the book is based on. And let's actually discuss what a subculture is. For you, I mean, we have the Webster's Dictionary definition, and then we have the way that you've laid it out here. What is the definition for you of a subculture?
Sure. So when we talk about subcultures, there's really a few things that we really need to have a subculture. The first thing is that a subculture needs to sort of be, or needs to deviate from what we would sort of say is normal or mainstream. So a subculture has to somehow remove itself from mainstream culture in some way. So it has to have ideas, or it has to have belief systems or value systems that contradict what the mainstream or the popular sort of accepts. The second thing is a subculture needs some sort of style or identity. So when we talk about subcultures, decades ago, the term style is often used. So when you think about like punk subculture, when you think about, the hippie subculture, right? They had a certain style. But nowadays, the world's changed. So now we use the term identity. So a subculture will have often a common set of beliefs, or a common set of jargon, or a common set of ideas or ideologies that link them together. So when we think about, let's say, the UFO community, for example, we have a set sort of identity. It doesn't always agree, but we can at least communicate with each other. We know the jargon, we know the lingo, we know what we mean when we say UAP or UFO. We know what we mean when we say, are you a nuts and bolts ET hypothesis guy, or are you a mystical interdimensional guy? We know what all these terms mean, so we can communicate with each other. So when we talk about subcultures, we need sort of those two key pieces, this deviance, and then this sort of identity, and then that's what forms a subculture.
Why do you feel that we here in the UFO community don't have structure in our subculture? And I mean it. I mean it like this: if you talk about anything out there, whether it is a professional organization, or the finance world, or religion, or sports, or NASCAR, the NBA, right? There is a structure. There's a hierarchy. You know what I mean? There is control. Not in the UFO community. There isn't any structure whatsoever, is there?
No, the UFO community is like a perfect anarchy, right? There is no ivory tower that says you are a UFO researcher or a ufologist. There's and then kind of remove that, right? There's no body that governs UFO research. There's no body that sort of says this is how it ought to be or how it ought to work. We live in this perfect, this like I said, this perfect anarchy where any idea sort of can be accepted. And when you look at the UFO discourse, you have ideas that are the strangest, wildest thing you've ever heard in your life. That's like sounds like total nonsense, to some incredibly sane, well thought out, well reasoned logic and data. So you have this vast array, and the UFO enigma itself seems to kind of be like that as well, right? I think the UFO community really mimics the UFO phenomenon itself, because you have these incredibly insane experiences that we often refer to as high strangeness, that are totally wild, and then you have relatively sort of, I don't want to say prosaic, but relatively sort of standard lights in the sky, or seeing some sort of daylight disk that is sort of, I guess you could sort of say, more normal, quote unquote. So we kind of live alongside the phenomenon in a sense, and maybe the phenomenon is sort of like that, purposefully throwing us off all the time and allowing for this anarchy to exist. And maybe the UFO phenomenon needs the anarchy to exist. You need the high strangeness, next to the scientific, data-driven UFO research.
Well, so we kind of have a paradox here, in that the UFO community has always policed itself. Right,
the term "policed" is interesting.
right. And that allows for, because of no ivory tower there, no standards. It allows for everybody to have this freedom of speech, and what we don't want is to censor our community. But we've got, what I mean? Now we've got two things that are working against each other, where everything is allowed. You can have your freedom, but there's no policing for that, and no standards are set.
Right. It's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, the UFO community is very much a countercultural community, right? We actively challenge sort of the mainstream power systems. We challenge political systems. We challenge economic systems. We challenge what the very definition of normal is. But the problem is, in order to sort of make any progress or headway when it comes to sort of proper research, let's say, or academic research or standardized research, you need those bodies in place, right? You need a set system of sort of politics and economics and culture, because somebody or something has to decide what is allowed and what isn't allowed. Could you imagine, like, if medical practice was like the UFO community, right, where any doctor can do whatever they want and follow no rules? It would be chaos. So we sort of, it's like a catch-22, right? We haven't really made a lot of progress, ufologically speaking, right? We haven't really gotten closer to any sort of set answer as to what the source is of the UFO phenomenon. That being said, we've made a lot of progress in coming up with a bunch of different hypotheses and a bunch of different theories. And we've kind of run the gamut, I think, of where we're going to go next. Like, what is the next thing on the horizon for UFO thinking, and then where are we going in 10 years and 20 years and 30 years? Sort of, what is the UFO enigma going to look like in those decades to come?
And to that end, it allows for certain figures and certain individuals to come into the community without any set standards. And because of this ability to not be censored, or certainly not have a report card and graded like you would anywhere else in NASCAR, or if you're a code writer in Silicon Valley, there are, if you're not good, or if you're fake, or if you have lied on your CV, you're going to get caught. Here in the UFO community, we don't have that. And now enters, and this is where we need to focus on a couple of things, and you do it really well in the book, is William Moore, Richard Doty, and Paul Bennewitz, and Linda Moulton Howe, and Jamie Chanderay, and this crazy situation that started to unfold into the UFO community, because it's easy to do, isn't it?
Yeah, the 1980s is like one of the most important decades in UFO, in the UFO narrative and in UFO discourse.
No question.
It's really shaped what people believe when it comes to the UFO question, right? The entire idea of like hidden underground bases and really, really complex government conspiracies and handshake deals with aliens and EBEs who like strawberry ice cream and Tibetan music. Like, this is all like really created a lot of mythology, and I don't mean mythology in that it's fake, but it's created mythology in the sense that the stories have sort of built upon themselves, right? MJ-12 and all of that is just this sort of mythological machine that just keeps turning, and right at the center of it all, right? Like, you have this whole cultural movement within ufology from the 1980s, and like right smack dab in the middle of it all, right, is Richard Doty, who I feature sort of prominently in my book. He and I had several sort of interviews, and we spoke a lot for about 4 or 5 months to kind of put this chapter together. And he's a really interesting cat, I have to be honest. And ultimately, like, as I say in the book, he's like a really nice guy. He's someone I would, I'd buy him a beer, if I ever met him. But he's very much also sort of this strange figure in that.
He's the most hated man in ufology. Yeah, he's absolutely the most hated man. Okay, so that part of it.
Sorry, he's like part myth and part real, right? Like, not to cut you up, but he's like sort of half mythology and half real. That's kind of the best way to put it.
Did you get a chance to listen to? He called into Fade to Black one night. Did you listen to that interview?
I did, and in fact, I listened to it the next morning, and I was texting him literally as I was listening to it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's when that happened.
Okay, so this is your take on Richard. Let's kind of focus on this because he is somebody that hasn't gone away. To this day, he is as much of a part of this community. No matter what your take is on Richard, he is a part of this community today. But it is what he did or didn't do, right, in the 1980s that how should I say this has made him such a dark figure that we don't even know now what is true and what isn't about him. And his job was disinformation, and admittedly so on his part. So how do we today trust Richard Doty?
Well, okay, so that's a tough question because one thing I'll say is when I was speaking to Richard Doty about his personal life, he's a grandfather who worships his grandchildren and loves them with all of his heart. He's a family man, so he's a genuine human being, and he's a good person in that regard, right? But he's been sort of lionized and demonized so much that even when I speak to him about sort of the UFO question, I don't know if he's necessarily telling me the truth or not. When he sends me pictures of his grandkids or he tells me about them, I know he's being honest. But when he starts talking about sort of what he did or what he didn't do or what he saw or didn't see when it came to the sort of alien UFO question, you're left in this weird, like, I don't know if I trust you, like you're kind of left guessing, right? But in not in defense of Richard Doty, but to compare Richard Doty to the UFO community, aren't we all kind of like, isn't the UFO phenomenon and the UFO discourse and the UFO community kind of like that too? Like, don't we exist in this sort of dualistic realm where we tell stories and make stuff up and live alongside charlatans who just lie straight up and create ufological content just by pulling out of their butt? And then there's the factual UFO stuff, right? The objective events, the actual sightings, the real experiencers, the real abductees and contactees. So really, UFO discourse and UFO, the UFO topic really is what Richard Doty is, right? Part myth and part fact. It's both real and not real simultaneously, exactly the same way Richard Doty is. And what I sort of point out in the book is I think we don't like Richard Doty because we see ourselves sort of in Richard Doty a little bit. We see that our reality is as much unreality, and our unreality is as real as reality. It's this sort of symbiotic relationship. And like I said, Doty is such an interesting cat, and I think that's why I spent a lot of time talking to him and interviewing him, because he's really shaped this idea.
Well, okay. Richard Doty would have, and I asked him about this directly. You listened to the interview, but this is really the bottom line. Uh-huh. Richard Doty should have told Bennewitz the truth. Right. The truth as he knew it, which is, dude, it's not UFOs. You're listening to secret government Air Force communications on a top secret project. Be a good American citizen, shut your stuff down, and it's not UFOs, and let's move forward. Right? That and he was, no, we needed to use Bennewitz to disguise this as UFOs because it was a secret government project, but if we could, have him believe it was UFOs, he tells everybody UFOs, and that takes the smoke screen off of this secret access program that we're working on at Kirkland Air Force Base that has to deal with whatever it was dealing with the Russians and satellites, whatever it was. It doesn't matter, right? And,
no, I agree. Yeah.
And he doesn't have any guilt over that. He's not apologetic for that. Right. And that lies the problem. Whether he created the MJ12 documents, I don't care. He probably did. What he did with Linda Moulton Howe, wrong, right? What he did with, okay. But when we talk about specifically about Paul Bennewitz, he was at a crossroads and could have made the right decision. And he didn't. And if he wants to say that Paul Bennewitz was unstable and that was Paul's part, you know what? He played a part in the downfall of Paul Bennewitz and the way that he came unwound. And that part of Richard, well, there's no excuse for it, and we're gonna always look at him that way. I don't care how nice of a guy he is and how much ice cream he buys his grandkids. That situation there, and I hit him with it directly, and he just I was following orders. Dude, stop with that. And that's my take, MJ. For you, do you think that he will ever step forward and accept the responsibility?
Well, that's a tough question. Like I can't. I'm not here to sort of absolve Richard Doty. And I know you're not. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you in that he's definitely made a lot of mistakes, and he's definitely responsible for those mistakes. Right? Those were his decisions. I think we need to, I think the problem is, again, there's a lot of storytelling and mythology around this whole moment, even, when William Moore came forward to talk about the whole Bennewitz affair, William Moore even admitted that Bennewitz was sort of a little unstable and definitely ran into situations half-cocked with half of the information and sort of ran to its full logical conclusion with sort of no information. So, I agree with you. I think Richard Doty should have told Paul Bennewitz what was actually going on. But at that point, would have Bennewitz listened to him? I don't know. I didn't know Paul Bennewitz.
Yeah, no. Let's take a break.
Sure. Yeah, this is getting heavy.
We just managed to blow right through a commercial break, and I've got to nearly apologize to the network for that. I did it. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, MJ Banias. Now, MJ, when we come back, we're going to pick right up where we're leaving off with Richard Doty. This is Fade to Black. We're talking about his new book, The UFO People. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fadernauts, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening.
Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new Paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Amazing conversation going on right now. MJ Banias is here. We're talking about his new book. It's called The UFO People. And MJ, really quick, the book is available for full release when? Is it tomorrow?
Yeah, hopefully. Right now, the Kindle version is out. So if you wanted to purchase it for your Amazon Kindle, you can go to Amazon now and find it. Or you can visit my website, www.mjbanias.com or terraobscura.net, and you can sort of find the links there. The paperback should be out either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, so it'll show up on Amazon within the next day or two, hopefully.
Yeah, there you go. It's an amazing read. Now, the situation with Doty, picking up where we left off, is this. It's not a simple situation. What he was doing, it wasn't just with Paul Bennewitz, but it was with William Moore. It was he pulled Linda Moulton Howe into this. You have, of course, Jamie Chandaray. You have a TV show or two. You have the MJ-12 documents. And all of this was flooding into, and not only what I just mentioned there, but there were a whole series of documents that William Moore started to produce. And this information and disinformation was flooding into the UFO community. William Moore was not a small person in the UFO community. The guy spoke at every single conference. He was cranking books out, and he had one sensational thing after another that he was flooding into the UFO community. And it's not some simple situation like it was with Paul Bennewitz, and it was taking orders. That's what he was doing. And that's the part where all of us with Doty need to focus on today in the UFO community and what could also be going on right now, and learn from the past and learn to recognize when this could be going on, right?
Right, I agree. I think I mention it in the book, but I think if for any of your Fadernauts who are interested in this sort of moment of UFO history, something that really is important to look at is something called the Pratt tapes, Pratt, Pratt tapes, and it's basically a series of documents. They're all available online, PDF format, on Google, so you can just Google them. But basically, it was a collection of documents that William Moore, as well as a couple other people, put together. Mainly, I think it was Bob Pratt, Bill Pratt from Bob Pratt from the National Enquirer. They were writing a book, and it's sort of predates MJ12 and this whole debacle by a couple years. But as your listeners and any researchers kind of go through these documents, they quickly realize that a lot of the stuff, a lot of the ideas that came out in the 1980s regarding UFOs sort of existed in a sort of a novel or an idea for a novel that never made it out. And the Pratt tapes are this interesting little piece of UFO history that we don't really talk about. But when you compare it to sort of any other modern day, let's say, or even contemporary today, UFO, let's say, organizations or groups or whatever, you can sort of draw a lot of similarities between someone's sort of creative project and wanting to sell copies of a book or come up with some novel idea, and then linking it to what becomes accepted as sort of quote unquote real. There's a significant link, for example, between the Pratt tapes and the idea for the novel and the MJ12 documents, which surfaced significantly later in time.
And so, let's get specific on a couple of things. The working title for the book was Project Aquarius. And which, for those that have study ufology and get into this, that they know about what I'm talking about. But for everybody else, the Pratt tapes and what was going on there is a good point of research. But there's another aspect to this, and we got to talk about Richard Helm too as well, and how the CIA could have been involved in this. But the Magic with a J, the Magic 12, was the centerpiece of Project Aquarius, right? MJ12.
The book was even renamed to Magic 12.
Was renamed to Magic 12. And Richard Doty was a part of all of this. And that's what Pratt says. Doty is in denial about this. Yeah. But what it sets up for everybody is that Richard Doty certainly was not just some sergeant in the Air Force. This was a guy that wanted fame, apparently, creating this UFO enigma around Magic 12 and MJ12 and this entire storyline that ended up evolving anyway through Jamie Chandaray, right?
Well, listen, I'm not going to speak for Richard Doty here. So I'm going to say alleged fame only because I don't want to, I can't go down that road with you. I'm not to differ in our opinions of sort of maybe the motivations of Richard Doty. I don't know necessarily 100%.
Right. Well, hold on. Let me just say this. I'm not suggesting that, MJ. What I'm saying is that this story, this period has been laid out that is probably what was actually going on. And Project Aquarius, if you can believe Pratt and the National Enquirer and what is going on, then this story was already written before Bill and Jamie and the MJ12 documents came out, and the aviary and everything else much later. That's what I'm suggesting.
Yes, and I think that's a sort of a pretty fair sort of hypothesis for sure. I think we can I can definitely follow you down that road.
But Doty is in denial about that he didn't even know Pratt. Now, yes. We've got a situation here. Who do we believe?
Right, and that is the big question, and I think that's really the broader question of all like UFO discourse and all the UFO community in general. Is like, who do we believe, right? Because we live even today in a world of many people within the UFO community that we can ask the same question of, right? Can we believe them? And this links back to what we were talking about earlier, right? This idea that there is no hierarchy or established sort of ivory tower or governing body of ufology. Everyone's kind of left to their own devices to make decisions on their own. And it a lot of times boils down to just simply who you trust and who you believe. And it doesn't always hinge upon facts or evidence. Sometimes it does, for sure, but not all the time.
Now, you before you started to interview Richard, you were in correspondence with somebody. I'll let you disclose that or not. Giving you a warning about Richard going into this. Tell us about that exchange.
Sure. So let's just say I called up a friend within the UFO community. I called up. I sent him a message, and sort of as I was putting this book together, I wanted to include some interviews with some of ufology's villains and heroes, let's say. And I wanted to talk to Richard Doty, and very quickly this person sort of said, yeah, that's a great idea, but you can't trust anything he says, and he's basically gonna play you, and suddenly a very reasonable and rational member of the UFO community who I trust, and not only that, who is a well-established researcher and well-respected, very quickly sort of said, listen, I don't want to be involved in this. Like, I don't want my name in regards to this or in relation to this. So I had to keep it totally anonymous. But this individual and I had multiple, like dozens of conversations back and forth concerning Doty, and whether he should be part of the book and how to frame it. So you got a little taste of the it was a Facebook Messenger sort of back and forth that we had.
The part of this when it comes to Doty and the possibility of him how do I say this, snowing you, right? Mm-hmm. And we know that we've had these same comments about him over the years. Now that you've got the book out, you've had your conversations with him and things. Do you think that there's the possibility that maybe you might have been played just a little bit?
Oh, and I admit to that in my book. I refer to it as I feel like, what was it? Like I'm the hen, and he's the fox, right? And he's starting to sniff around the hen house, right? Like I just, of course, I have this sort of anxiety that a lot of the things we talked about were untrue or partially true or a mixture, right, of truth and fiction. So of course, now there's nothing really in the book that he says really that's sort of not generally already accepted within the UFO community. There is one part that's very interesting where he explains, or he tries to convince me, I suppose, that he wasn't Falcon in the famous 1988 UFOs cover-up live, or whatever it was called, right? That 80s live show that was hosted by Mike Farrell from MASH. Mm-hmm. He sort of informed me multiple times, and he sort of tried to I suppose get me to buy it, let's say, that he wasn't Richard Doty. He was Richard, that he wasn't Falcon during that presentation. But when you watch it, like you can watch it on YouTube, for example, like you look at this person sit there, and while their face is sort of blacked out, you can hear them speak. You can see sort of the wire frame of the glass. Like you're sitting there being like, oh my God, it's Richard Doty. Like it totally is Richard Doty. What is he talking about? Like, does he actually think I'm going to believe this, right? So maybe that's the one time I was sort of like, man, he's just flat out lying to me at this point. But listen, he says it wasn't him. He says he can prove it because he has records from his sort of police academy in New Mexico that says he was off training, at the time when that was filmed. And I don't know. Like I said, you're kind of left in this. You just don't know what to believe.
Well, and the problem with it is, he states, as he has said to me, that Richard Helms was Falcon, head of the CIA.
Yeah, he told me the same thing. Yeah.
Right. And that ain't Richard Helms.
No, on TV, certainly not.
Right? So now, what are we left with here? I mean, you see the wire rim glasses, you see all of that there. And, I don't know if it's Richard, but I can tell you who it isn't. It's not Helms.
Right, but again, that's really it's so quintessentially like UFO community, right? When you talk about who Falcon was, does that mean every time anyone ever discussed Falcon, they were talking to the same person or the same individual? I mean, how many times do you have, emails from people within the UFO community who claim to be someone and it turns out they're not, or they're playing you, or it's just, someone messing around and like, even in the 1960s when John Keel was dealing with this, he would often get crank calls from UFO enthusiasts and fanatics pretending to be, aliens from Venus. So this is a common sort of recurring historical motif that runs through UFO history here.
Well, and this is the point that you not only make in the book, but I certainly speak about this often, which is this is exactly why when Bill Moore in 1989 ran out the back door for his life, right, and split. That he left a room full of the top people in ufology that he was in contact with that all were also codependent on his information. There's no question about any of that. He had built relationships, and suddenly he cut everybody off at the knees. And he stated why. Right, disinformation, CIA, the Air Force, and Doty, and he named everything and laid it out for everybody, and then split, which is exactly why we don't trust the Pentagon. This is why we don't trust the military-industrial complex today, and it'll be a long time before that pain is ever healed. And I'm going to read a quote from you from the book, okay?
Right.
You state here, the UFO subculture has a certain feeling towards the government, the military-industrial complex, and the establishments of authority, such as the corporate and scientific communities, that the feeling is that they are not worthy of trust. Conspiracy theories, alleged whistleblowers, and leaked top-secret documents all lend to this ideological buildup of opposition to elite power structures. And the reason for that is Richard Doty, a large chunk of it right there. And you state it really well. Why should we trust things today when it comes out of Washington, D.C. or the Pentagon or the CIA today when we know and we've been warned about the past?
Right. And this is sort of a very common problem within, even like you say, today in UFO discourse. We require information from the government, such as leaked gun camera footage, which has sort of been made popular very recently, as sort of new UFO data that we can sink our teeth into. So we need them on one hand, yet in the same breath, we don't know if that information is valid or accurate. And this I have to be honest, like this kind of goes even before Richard Doty. Kehoe had the same problems. Keel and Gray Barker talk about the Men in Black, and the sort of long running, again, mistrust of the government. It's I think Keel even points out, the CIA hates the FBI hates the CIA, and the phone company hates everybody, right? He famously says in the Mothman Prophecies. So you have this long kind of drawn out anti-government vibe within the UFO community, yet at the same time, the UFO community needs them. And you see this discrepancy so clearly today within the UFO community. This whole ATIP, OSAP, To the Stars Academy thing is this perfect storm, right, of this legacy of mistrust towards the government. On one hand, we feel like sections or individuals within the government, certain compartments are here to help us, and certain compartments in the government are here to hinder us, and they're constantly fighting with each other, and some people like Lou Elizondo are out to bring the truth out because they're one of the good guys from the government, and then there's other people within the government who are trying to squash him. Like it keeps going, and I don't think it's because of Richard Doty. I think it's because that's just how it's sort of always been. This is how the UFO community has sort of formed ever since its beginnings in the 1940s and 50s. And what I mean by that is like sort of what we mean the UFO community today to be. That's kind of been how it's sort of always been, I think, since the beginning of modern UFO history.
Should we? How long? What's the standard? Since we don't have that ivory tower, how much time needs to pass before the trust is established? You know what I mean? Sure. Shouldn't you have some type of track record? Or right now is the UFO community going all in with something like TTSA or any whistleblower?
Right. So I have a chapter in my book dedicated to sort of the invisible college, right? And I have interviews from like Dr. Kit Green, Hal Puthoff, Dr. Gary Nolan from Stanford University, who are sort of these sort of UFO insiders, right? These people who study the phenomenon, and they have worked with the government, and they're former CIA or they're former intelligence operatives, and they have clearances and whatever. So I have a lot of their research, their current research in my book, and what they're sort of currently looking at and how they're studying the UFO phenomenon. And it's sort of fairly detailed. And again, it boils down to trust. Like, when I sat down multiple times with Kit Green to talk about his study of people who've been injured by anomalous aerial phenomena, do I trust Kit Green? Right? Like, when I look at him in the eyes and he's telling me what he's doing, do I take him at his word, or do I think he's playing me a little bit because he was a former CIA operative? The guy could play me like a fiddle if he wanted to.
That's right.
So I have to make that decision, and I sort of presented, and I even just talk about this in the book. Like, I am a fool who knows nothing, and I'm dealing with people who are much smarter than me. But I trust Kit Green that he's not lying to me, that his research is legitimate. When Gary Nolan tells me about sort of the genetic research he's doing alongside Kit Green and his research into the caudate putamen, which sort of is now public, again, do I trust Gary Nolan? And I do. I have no reason not to. But then, again, you start looking into the past of people like Kit Green or Hal Puthoff or whatever, Chris Mellon, Jim Semivan. These are individuals who are definitely players within the government or were players within the government at some point. So we need to, again, it boils down to this notion of trust. Do I trust sort of Richard Doty 100%? No, I don't. I trust him in certain ways. I trust him when he talks about his family, I trust him. But I don't trust him when he talks about UFOs. Do I trust Kit Green when he talks about UFOs, or when he talks about, anomalous phenomena, or Gary Nolan or Hal Puthoff? I think I do trust them. My gut, and that's really all I have to go by in this world, tells me that I can. And I have to be honest, my gut could be very wrong. I just hope it's not.
Let's take a break right here. It's getting heated in here, MJ. It's hot. It's hot. This is Fade to Black. When we come back, we're going to pick up where we're leaving off. We are going to talk about, and this is a very serious subject, the invisible college. This is Fade to Black. The book is called The UFO People. MJ Banias, Fade to Black. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is MJ Banias. His new book is called The UFO People. We've got the links up right now in Twitter. The paperback is going to be released in a couple of days. And now, here we go. MJ, I've got another quote from you. I could read the entire book tonight on the show. Is this, and I'm quoting, you say, much of the opposition is misguided, conspiratorial, and even ridiculous. The exopolitics movement, disclosure, the alien Nazi secret machines with a K, being worked on by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, channeling alien communication, and ancient alien visitation are just a few examples that fall into the trap of ideological nonsense and charlatanry. Now, that's pretty heavy, but that's exactly what's going on. And when we're talking about, you know, TTSA and Jim Semivan and Justice and Mellon and Elizondo, you actually, you know, you bring up, you know, secret machines and Lockheed Martin Skunk Works too as well. Is this nonsense? Is this something that we are being sold?
Well, you know, it's tough. You know, I purposefully I purposely leave out sort of to the stars.
You leave out a lot of things, and you should have. I totally get that, right? But nonetheless,
you know, partially because I'm not sure if TTSA is going to be around like long enough. Like you don't necessarily want when you write a book, right? You want to always sort of look what's still going to be around in 5 years or in 10 years, because you still want your book to be relevant, right? Like you don't want to suddenly throw in your lot with, you know, like something like, let's say, To the Stars, which could fail in a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I kind of hope it doesn't, but, you know, it could. So you don't want to throw that in your book, because then all of a sudden, you know, people are like, wait, what is that? I don't know. Oh, that was like 9 years ago. Wow. So, yeah, I was cautious in how I kind of wrote that. But I can't speak necessarily if To the Stars or To the Stars Academy is sort of fake or charlatanism. I don't know. I don't really have enough data yet to get into that. But there's a lot of other examples, I think, of individuals or groups that sort of play into this, right? They make a lot of bold claims, and they say that it's true, but provide no real evidence to back up their claims, right? You just have to, again, take them at their word. And really the litmus test for me is if somebody tells you they know exactly what causes the UFO phenomenon, or they know exactly what is the source of the abduction phenomenon or the contactee phenomenon or whatever, if they say this is what it is 100%, you should not trust them, because no one knows what is actually behind UFOs, not a single person. So that's sort of my litmus test. You know, if you ever watch my YouTube videos, I end every single YouTube video with the same sort of tagline, and that's, you know, always keep searching for answers and never trust those who say they have them. And I think that's essential within the UFO community. I think we need to remain critical, and I think we need to be critical. If anyone tells you they know something 100% in this field, they're feeding you something, and they're either delusional or they're trying to sell you something.
And that, you know, and we've got somebody like Kit Green that comes out and says, look, man, I don't know what's going on. Right? It's just like, okay, I get it, Kit. I feel it from you. But, dude, you're ex-CIA, right? So I don't know where to go with that. And he is, okay, let's discuss the Invisible College, because you just named all of these individuals who, oddly enough, are all tied to TTSA these days. But the Invisible College, what is the Invisible College?
Sure. So the Invisible College, when it comes to sort of UFOs specifically, it was a sort of a term, I suppose, coined by J. Allen Hynek and Jacques Vallée. And it referred to a group in sort of the late 60s, 70s, who were primarily academics, and they were professionals who were looking at and studying the UFO phenomenon, but in sort of total secrecy. So they weren't the usual sort of speaking at conferences, writing books about UFOs kind of people. They were, professionals and academics or people within the government who had an interest in UFOs, but chose not to disclose that they were actively looking at it and pursuing the UFO enigma. So sort of move forward to 2019 today. Really, the Invisible College, in really simple terms, is a very sort of loose system of individuals who sort of follow that same principle. They study UFOs in secret, but this Invisible College has really swelled and grown since the 1960s and 70s. The internet has really changed everything. And you have, I would probably say I would say a little less than 1,000, most likely, of sort of people who know each other, and a lot of them don't know each other, and they sort of form these little pockets or confederacies who communicate with one another and throw ideas back and forth. And basically, they study UFOs. The thing, though, that is surprising about them is they're often people who you'd never sort of suspect. They're sort of leaders in our technology markets. They're leaders in our, how we look at biotech. They're leaders in government. They're leaders in academic settings. So they're chairs of university departments, whatever. And they're really interested in UFOs, but they can't talk about it because their professional careers would be at risk.
And why do you think that is? That on one hand, it appears that these ex-CIA or current CIA insiders and Defense Department military-industrial complex individuals appear to be coming forward and speaking about this, and nobody is telling them to stop. Right? Is it one of two situations? One, that they truly believe in the subject, and they are coming forward despite what repercussions would be there? Or is it B, that they're coming forward because they're being told to, and it is some serious amounts of disinformation? I mean, or is it somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, I think there's probably a third option. I think the third option would be that these people are not breaking any rules when it comes to their clearances, or they're not basically committing treason by violating the rules of their clearances. So the government can't really step in and say you can't talk about UFOs, only because what they're saying is not breaking any laws. So I think that's sort of what's going on here. I think they may know a lot of things. I think when you speak to Hal Puthoff, for example, he knows a lot of things that he can't talk about. He will never say, because if he does say it, it's treason. So he has to be cautious. So I'm not sure if there's some sort of big active conspiracy within the government to sort of shut down all UFO discussion. I mean, that's impossible. We know that's impossible. And not only that, I'm pretty confident the government sort of wants us to talk about UFOs, right? Because they know the myth-making power of UFO discourse, right? We generate our own disinformation and misinformation. I could probably name, I won't, but I can probably name a dozen sort of UFO experts, quote unquote, who speak at conferences and have massive followings, who receive and take half of the information and run with it and spin their own mythologies. And they do it purely by accident. They just have half the story, and that's what they go on. And then all of a sudden, a whole new myth forms and a whole new little piece of misinformation forms, which becomes kind of part of the UFO discourse and is talked about at length, and sort of becomes real, quote unquote. And they just don't know.
Why do you think? Why do you think that? Puthoff or Kit Green or Mellon or Semivan, any one of these individuals. I'm not so sure about Lewis. I haven't quite figured him out yet. I'm not sure what he actually knows. But anybody else that clearly should know the facts will not say anything, because if they did, if I was in possession of it, I don't care about my career or anything else, or my pension, or jail time. I come forward with this because it would be the most pivotal moment in human history. Seriously pivotal. Going back through, I don't know of a more bigger, explosive revelation for humankind than that. Why not come forward with it? Why not be the most important person in human history instead of doing this dance?
Right. Well, do you have kids?
Of course I do.
right? So I suppose let's say you knew something you couldn't say, right? Would you jeopardize not necessarily their lives, because I don't think that would happen, but I think would you jeopardize your entire life here, and your family's life, in just where they go to school or where they went to school or where they work or
I think
relationships.
You know what? I'm going to answer you directly. I think they would be proud.
Really? But no. Oh no. Sorry. Sorry. I don't necessarily mean about them being proud, but I mean like, would you be all right to do that as a parent? So
I would be. I would be.
It's not to the same extent, but let's look at like the Edward Snowden situation, right? Edward Snowden came forward with verified information that the United States government spied on its own population illegally. And what happened as a result, right? He now currently lives in Russia in an embassy, or he has an apartment now, I guess, but he lives in Russia. He can't return to the United States because he would be charged with treason and espionage. And he was sort of single relatively. He had a girlfriend, but he had no kids or whatever, but he can never return back home. And he's sort of stuck there forever. And really, has anything changed? Like, really, did the United States government change its policies on how it spies on its own population? Did we suddenly revolt against the government and say, I can't believe this is happening, this is a grave injustice, everything needs to change? No, nothing really changed, right? We're still being spied on, we know that. This conversation is being logged by some algorithm in some server somewhere, I'm sure by the NSA or the CIA, not because they're spying on you and me personally, but just because they log everything and tap everything and collect all data. Really, has anything changed as a result of Snowden's actions? I think we're more aware of it, but we've sort of just moved on. And if somebody came forward and said, listen, here's my evidence, here's the best evidence there is for aliens or UFOs or interdimensional beings or whatever, it'd be interesting to think what would happen to that person and would it be worth it in the end? I don't know.
And what Snowden, I think you bring up a good point. And what Snowden did was, and what he revealed was certainly groundbreaking and earth-shattering. There's no doubt about that. But he's still alive, and he's living in Russia, and he's doing okay. It wasn't like he was taken out. But the UFO enigma, the UFO question, are we alone in the universe? What does the government know? Are we in contact? Is a Richter scale leagues above NSA spying, right? Sure. We're talking about something very, and if I was in possession of that information, I would definitely, I would be the martyr. I really would.
Do you personally believe that the United States government knows what the source of the UFO phenomenon is?
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do.
Like they know 100%.
Well, look, if they are in, and which I believe, if they are in possession with materials from a crashed craft, whether it's a drone craft, some research vessel that was sent here from, interstellar space, live beings on it or not, right? That is the answer to the question right there. Are we alone in the universe? And they have that answer. A communication with fast radio burst or anything like that, I think that they would have that information too. And absolutely, they know what's going on. And they're not the only ones. Okay, they share this information with Russia and China. They have to. We're not a monopoly on this kind of information. But if I was in the know, this is the other example of this. Okay, we just stated that side of it, but let's go to the other side. The other side is we don't know, right? We don't know. Well, then come forward with that, right? I mean, one way or the other, instead of doing the dance. And the dance is what I don't like. I just don't. I don't appreciate that. It come out one way. Look, that you're studying it, you're looking into it, you haven't quite figured it out. Let's have that conversation from a 4-star general from the Pentagon. Just come out and tell us the truth, right? But they won't. You know, that's my point. If Semivan or Mellon or Justice, knows that side of the coin, tell us. Don't do the dance. You know, and that's my point. You know, and it one way or the other. What is it that you know? Just come forward. We can handle the truth. You know, when the New York Times came out with that article, MJ, back in December of 2017, did people jump off of buildings? Right? Did religions collapse? No. It was like everybody's like, well, okay, there you go. We always knew that was going on. And that's the way that the world reacted. Right? Don't you agree with that?
No, yeah, I agree. There was no major change, really. I mean, not within sort of mainstream culture, no.
No. And so I think that we can handle the truth today. I really do. Now, I want to change gears a little bit before we run out of time. We've got about 10 minutes left. The other aspect that you touch upon in this in the book is the balance of and what is going on or imbalance of the UFO community. And you bring up one point in there, and that is when it comes to women, that abductees tend to be women, contactees, or those are the ones that are coming forward and speaking about this. I don't hear much, except for Travis Walton, right? But I don't hear men coming forward saying that they were abductees. Why do you think that is?
Man, that's a tough question. I don't know. The data comes from a book called Lure of the Edge by Brenda Densler. She wrote it in the late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, it's something like huge numbers of like you said, abductees that come forward are predominantly women. And the vast majority of sort of UFO experts, quote unquote, who talk about UFOs in a more distant sense, like not what happened to me personally, but this is what I know about UFOs, are men. I don't know. I think maybe part of it has to do with the way, maybe we culturally sort of just in general sort of painted how men and women, appear in sort of political discourse or in just, the general discourse. Men take certain positions because that's just sort of how culture has raised them, and women take other sort of more personal positions because, again, that's how sort of the culture has kind of raised them to be right or wrong, predominantly wrong. But this is sort of the potentially the sexist state that sort of our contemporary culture's in, and I think ufology or UFO discourse and the UFO community kind of just follows suit, right? Like we said earlier, with sort of contemporary culture, we sort of we kind of coexist with it. So I'm not sure why that's the case. Sort of from a numbers standpoint, I don't really, I can't answer the question really. Yeah, I know. It's a fascinating question because it could be one of a couple of things. One, that ET just likes to abduct women. Okay, all right. Okay, so that could be an easy answer. And the other part of it is that it's about the same, but men don't like to admit to it. Oh, interesting. Yeah. There could be a sort of weird sort of machismo, maybe, right? That men don't get abducted because they don't want to talk about that. Potential. I could maybe see that as a potential option for sure. Yeah, because I wouldn't admit to it. I can tell you that right now. I mean, I don't know. Or there's, or if the abduction experiences may have happened with men, but maybe they don't want to know about it too as well. They don't want to go through the regression, or they, any type of hypnotic therapy, that they just want to ignore the possibility, so we don't get that data. Where women are probably open to regression therapy, and they want to find out about missing time, and they approach it a bit differently than men would, and maybe that's why the numbers are skewed. Right. I mean, I can't speak to what I can't speak to sort of what the aliens do, only because I've never met one. But I can speak to sort of the more human aspects of just the fact that when you look at, UFO conferences, or when you look at UFO books, or when you look at UFO media, the vast majority of people within sort of those expert positions are male. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily sort of an alien phenomena. I think that's just generally a human phenomena. Men are usually judged by their work and their character, and women are often judged by like what they wear on stage, for example. We see this sort of within the most recent sort of election or the recent American election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, right? Hillary Clinton was often criticized in the media by her clothing choices, and that never really happened on sort of the male end with Mr. Trump. So I think we kind of see this sort of reflected within the UFO community a bit. Men are sort of perceived to be experts, and women sort of have to often fight for their place a little harder, or they're judged on things that are sort of irrelevant. So I don't know. I can't speak to who gets abducted more. I don't know, but I can speak to the numbers of conference speakers, which are pretty clear.
Yes, and what is next, MJ? This book should have been 3 times as long. Are you working on a part 2?
Yeah, well, right now I am doing research for another book or 2. It really depends on where my life goes the next year. But yeah, I'm definitely doing more research for sort of other books that are obviously similar to this one, or sort of a continuation. I'm really working on my YouTube channel, creating YouTube videos sort of as much as I can, which is sort of my current focus, as well as my blog, Terra Obscura. So yeah, right now I'm just kind of riding through ufology, and I've been recently reading a lot of sort of 1960s UFO researchers like Gray Barker and John Keel, to sort of get my brain into that mode a little bit. I might sort of do something in relation to them. I found them very interesting. So that's sort of my future at this point.
Thank you so much. The book is a fascinating read, MJ, and I look forward to having you back on the show. And there you go. What a great conversation tonight, and thank you so much.
It's been an honor. Thank you for having me.
It is terraobscura.net. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com, and you can get the new book, The UFO People, right there. Thank you, MJ. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Have a great night.
MJ Banias. What a great conversation. All right, I'm going to take a quick break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'll come back to your phone calls, 747-228-2051. I'll be right back.
And you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Thank you, MJ Banias. The new book is called The UFO People. We've got all the links up on Twitter. You can go to Terra Obscura. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com, terraobscura.net, and you can order the book there. The paperback will be released tomorrow, the next day, on Amazon. Okay, so there you go. Amazing conversation. Thank you, MJ. And our community, it's a trippy place. It is truly a trippy place. And I've opened up the phone lines, 747-228-2051. And so the lines are open now, and let's go straight to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. This is Dennis from Tennessee.
Hey, Dennis from Tennessee. How are you, man?
I'm great. I tried to call you last night. Anyway, I kind of had an answer to a question you had earlier.
What's that?
Whenever, let me see. Your question was, why don't we have any UFO standards to go by, in the UFO community? And basically, it's Dr. Greer. If you go by his standards, all of his stuff is he has to have the documentation. And I love the guy, but he has no give. He has no leeway. And then if you go by David Wilcock, he had years and years of experience and people, and you either believe him or you don't. But I mean, come on, the guy researches, out the yin-yang. Then Emery Smith, he's got documentation for his military service, his medical, his company, them suing him and taking it and all the rest of that. But he has no proof. And then you even have like Corey Good, his 20 and back. It's like, okay, I can't prove to you that I served for 20 years, and then they regressed me, brought my body back, put me back in at 17 again, and then I've lived my life.
Right.
So if you go through just those three, then you either believe them or you don't, and you can't make a standard. There is no ivory tower that we can put up, because if you did, then you would be saying, okay, well, I believe Dr. Greer, he has the right answers, but because he has documentation. Then, Wilcox, he has some documentation, but he has insiders. Smith, he has documentation, but he has no proof. He can't bring you a slide and say, here, this is an alien.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't have, like you said, you can't have an ivory tower. It's impossible.
Right.
Otherwise, you're putting limitations.
Yeah, and you're right about that. And see, this is the thing, Dennis, that is one of the points that I try to drive home as often as I can on this show, which is, if you listen to Fade to Black night after night, and we've done over 1,000 broadcasts, and then you combine what I've done over at Coast to Coast and all the television stuff. When you look at all of that, so much of it can be contradictory day in and day out, right? Yeah. And it is a difficult thing to do. But what we have to do, and that is the standard that we have in the UFO community, is we have to listen to everything. You don't have to believe everything, but you have to listen to everything. And that's really the bottom line. You have to just collect it all. What you resonate with and don't resonate with, well, that's your gold standard. And that's what's most important here. Where we get into a danger zone, Dennis, is when we stop listening, or we say, hey, I'm right and you're wrong. When that happens, nobody can tell me or somebody else that their experiences weren't real. You can't do that. You can't, and that's the danger zone that we get into. But you're absolutely right. We just have to listen to everybody. And
I do have one question for you. I tried to call you during your Emerald tablet. Okay, that was a live broadcast, right?
They all are, like this one. Yes.
Oh, okay. I so wanted to get through to you. I seen you broadcast one part of that. That was the third time I saw it. Word for word, expression on your face, turning in your chair, going up to the mic. That was the third time I watched you do that.
That's trippy. I know. Wow. How cool is that? So deja vu, huh?
Yeah, your Stephen Hawking's question.
Yes.
And the time party. It was the third time you had that on there.
Wow. Deja vu, man.
I had to tell you that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dennis. Enjoy the rest of your night.
You too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Deja vu happening live on the air. You gotta love that. That's pretty strange. Let's go back to the votes. Hold on. Before I do, let me do this here really quick. And I appreciate everybody trying to call in right now. And I will get to everybody. Okay. So if I'm putting you on hold, just stay right there and I'll get to everybody. All right. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
This is Kevin from Eugene, Oregon.
Hi, Kevin from Eugene, Oregon. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Jimmy. I just love your show. I'm totally addicted to it now. And because of the topic that you guys had tonight, I thought I'd call in and share my UFO sighting.
Oh, what happened?
I was living in Duarte at the time.
Down here in Southern California, Duarte?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was had gone out. It was about midnight. I had gone out. This was in 2014. I'd gone out to look at the blood moon, which it was in 2014. I think it was like June, early summer, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And I got out there, and it was about maybe halfway are almost completely blood at the time I got out to look at it. And I'm standing on the front lawn of this house, which looks down into southward into what would be Covina down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a full sky, it's night sky, and here comes something in the sky, and I look at it, and I can see I think it's a plane, but it's got no lights on. The only thing illuminating what I could see was the city lights. And then I took a closer look, and I see it's kind of cylindrical, a whitish color. And I can't see the whole thing because it's so dark, but that's what I could see. Now, the cylinder was perpendicular to the direction it was traveling. That was really weird. And I'm looking at it, and then I notice I cannot believe how fast it's moving. It's moving so much faster than any jet. And, of course, it's making no sound. And I could look down. I'm looking at all of the other private planes flying around, over the city of Covina. And I could tell it was at about the same height. So it was probably between, maybe 2,000 to 3,000 feet, something like that. And then, so I'm watching it, and I look around, there's nobody on the street, there's nobody out. I wanted to say to somebody, hey, do you see that?
Right.
There's nobody around. And then I just watch it head northwest, and it went over the mountain range. And as I'm watching it, then I, just to recount, to confirm I saw what I saw in terms of how fast it was going, I just reenacted it, myself, and counted 1,000, 2, 1,000. Jimmy, that thing was out of sight over the mountains in 8 seconds.
Wow. And I want
to do that with a jet.
Duarte is off of the 210 freeway, east of Los Angeles, east of Monrovia, east of Pasadena and Arcadia, heading due east. And it, like Kevin's just describing, it overlooks the eastern part of Los Angeles, which is La Puente and West Covina in that area. But going northwest, where the direction that this is traveling, it's heading straight towards Area 51. It's going towards Las Vegas.
Northwest? I thought that would be northeast.
Northwest. Oh, actually, well, northwest. No, northwest would be going towards Vegas.
South.
Yeah.
Well, I'm facing south, and it's going northwest.
That's towards Vegas.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought that was more eastbound.
No, northeast would be...
just the same.
No, if it was going northeast, it would be Palm Springs. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Don't throw me off. Okay.
No, I'm not. I just can't. I don't have my bearings about Las Vegas.
Yeah. Northwest is going towards the 15, which is Las Vegas. Yeah. Very interesting. Great sighting, Kevin.
Yeah, it was great. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't sleep all night after that. And then, of course, the next morning I went and filed a report with Peter Davenport's site.
Yeah, great. But you didn't take a picture, did you?
No, I had no cameras, and there wouldn't have been anything to see because this thing wasn't illuminated.
Right.
Only by the city lights.
Right.
And, wow, I just that whole evening in my bed, I'm just sitting there going, I cannot believe I saw a UFO. Yeah. And it wasn't, anything typical. It was bizarre. It was no lights and all that. And, and cylindrical traveling perpendicular to the cylinder is just weird.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my cylindrical sighting. I haven't had one yet. And I've it's difficult for me to picture. I've heard so many reports, we all have, and photographs over the years, but I haven't had mine yet, and I look forward to the day that I do. So I'm a little jealous, Kevin. Enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you for the phone call.
You bet. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you, Kevin. That's a great sighting. So that's over Duarte. blood moon back in 2014. And I'm just curious if anybody else was in Los Angeles during the blood moon back in 2014. If you saw anything back then, I would love to hear from you. All right, let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hello.
Yes.
I am Yasha Ackerman from Charlottesville, Virginia.
And what's your name again?
Yasha.
Hey, Yasha, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
It's a great night, my man. What's on your mind?
So I just think that it's important to warn everybody. This is my first time I'm going on the air, and I think it is a good time to warn people that the great Ayatollah is coming. He will fall from the sky. The great Ayatollah fall from the sky. He will land on Earth, and he will ask all of us if they are able to define a woman without falling into essentialist bullshit.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Who's the Ayatollah?
The Ayatollah Yasha. I say my name is Yasha, and it is Yasha, but Ayatollah Yasha is another Yasha.
But who is the Ayatollah?
The Ayatollah is heavenly being from the sky. He come from the sky, and he will come down onto Earth, and he will.
Where's he gonna, Yasha? Where's he gonna come from? What do you mean the sky? Is he coming from another planet, from space?
He will. I'm not sure which planet, but it is definitely of the sky, and he will come in large vessel of steel and other alloy metal, and he is prophet, and he will come to Earth.
When is this gonna, Yasha? When is this gonna happen?
This is going to happen on Juche 107, or rather, a better way to put that would be the election of Andrew Yang in 2020.
Andrew who?
Yang.
Andrew Yang is.
Yes.
And that's here in the United States?
Yes, this is future president. Spoiler alert. Future president of, and he will.
Is it the future president of the United States?
Yes, Andrew Yang, future president of the United States.
Well, this is exciting. So you're making a prediction here, or do you know the future, and you know that this is going to happen?
I prefer the term prophecy, but the prediction works also.
So where's the prophecy from?
The prophecy is from the sacred text of Gilles Doty.
Interesting. So this is, hold on, Yasha, this is pretty interesting. So I'm going to note this. This is Election Day 2020. This is going to happen?
Yes, if the texts of Gilles Doty are correct, which so far they have proved correct, as they are based on materialist conception of history.
This is great. Well, we'll see if it happens, Yasha. You want to be right with this kind of stuff. You know that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you have a great night. I've written it all down. I'm looking at I'm looking at your picture here. It's pretty interesting. So we'll see. All right. Have a great night.
I love you.
I love you too.
Don't be infidel.
Thank
Await Ayatollah.
You got it. Thank you.
I love you.
Love you too. Oh man, that was great. 747-228-2051. Eric, Awakening Man, where did you get this gift? This is Oh, man, that was just too funny. Election day 2020. The Ayatollah's going to come from this. Oh, man. All right. Getting back to it. I got to tell you, man. That's entertainment right there. I know, right? Eddie from Pennsylvania. That's exactly. All right. Anyway, back to getting back to. I'm looking through Twitter here. I'm trying to keep up with everybody. I know that. Okay. Hold on. Let me see. I got it right here. Wait, hang on. Hey, Eric, what's going on, man?
Wow, I'm kind of shocked. I didn't think I was going to be able to slide in there tonight.
Yeah, well, no, I was waiting for you, man. I've got.
You're baiting me for the last.
I was holding off on taking another call. You know, there are people that have been on hold now for a while that are going, man, Eric got through. Okay, all right, they see what's going on. So, where did you get this gift from? Is that Andrew Yang?
I just typed in troll. and scrolled down and found it.
Is that him?
I just, I'm sure you knew the guy was playing you. It was funny as hell.
Oh, man. The Ayatollah is going to come in a ship made from many alloys.
Yeah, I know, many alloys. I love it. The god.
Andrew Yang is going to get elected. Okay. So there you go. All right. So what'd you think of that conversation tonight? Look, man, I want you to...
Man, I love it. I mean, what's funny is, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago, I started following him on Twitter. I didn't know who he was. I'm going, man, this dude is smart. I got to get him on our show. So I started contacting him, and he agreed. And then lo and behold, pow, he's on your show. So I'm glad you got him, man. That was a great interview. You were awesome tonight.
What show do you have?
You know our show, the show that Richard Doty's going to be on next Tuesday, the Quantum Hologram Matrix.
You're going to have Richard. Okay, what's your show called?
The Quantum Hologram Matrix. It's John Polk's show. I'm just the guy that runs around to the conferences and grabs these guys.
Oh, and you guys are going to have Doty. Why would you have Doty on?
Well, because just my opinion. And first of all, I want to let you know.
Are you drinking? Are you drinking the Doty Kool-Aid?
I'm not drinking, but I'm fired up right now. But I have the utmost respect for you because I know. I mean, your research. I mean, I'm just a junior researcher compared to you. However, you got to give me a little props. I do, drive my butt out there and get to these places, and I do find these people. And I spent 4 hours with Doty at the MegaCon. I'm not exaggerating. I think my judgment is pretty sound. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I just think the guy deserves another fair. Well, I know you don't believe this, but I think he deserves a fair hearing, and we're going to give it to him. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with him. I just think there's more to the story. He told me some things privately that he asked me not to repeat. And I love Linda. I'm not going to say anything negative about Linda, but there's a lot of information that we both don't know that he knows that I'm trying to get from him. That's really the bottom line.
You drank the Kool-Aid.
I would love, I would love if you would call in. Matter of fact,
no.
I would re-up my Fadernaut membership. If you can call in and ask Doty a few questions on our show, I would be thrilled.
Nope. Ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't. It just ain't. It just ain't. Look, if I was Richard Doty, and he's probably, well, okay, I'm not gonna say, but if I was Richard,
listening right now, I just want you to know.
Okay. If I was Richard Doty, I would just ride my horse off into the sunset. That's what I would do. I mean, why go to UFO conferences? Why hang out? Why do interview? Why? There's no reason.
He's got 2 films he's working on.
That's what I'm saying. Why do that?
I understand.
Why? I mean, why? If everything, let's just say this, if everything that we said that he has said is true, then why say anything else? There's no reason for it. Just ride off into the sunset and disappear. And
but he doesn't even know who is this Pratt guy, because you brought up this name Pratt, and I'd never heard of Pratt, and I'm just curious, who is this Pratt guy? Can you, in a 20, 30 seconds, tell me who he is?
They were going to write a book, and I think the book was this is part of this is UFO folklore, but there's a lot of documentation out there, the Pratt tapes and stuff, that they were going to write a book. The book was called Project Aquarius. They changed the name to Magic 12. I believe that's it, and it's Magic with a J, MAJIK 12. All based on MJ12 and the UFO phenomenon. And I believe now, so that's it. That's it in a nutshell, because I'm going to run out of time. And that all of this predated everything else that ended up happening anyway. And I'm talking about the MJ12 documents and the aviary and Falcon and all of that stuff. So that the story was already written, and that now, again, I'm not saying this is fact. This is part of what everybody else can go and research, that it involved, I believe, Bill Moore, Jamie Chandere, maybe, Pratt, maybe, and Doty, maybe. And that this book was out there, and I think even in the book, Bennewitz's name was in there as Dr. Berkowitz. I think that's it, instead of Bennewitz. I believe that is the case. Okay, so look, that's it. And if that is indeed true, what does that say about everything else that ended up happening anyway? I don't know. But there's enough dark clouds over it that,
Well, let me just say this real quickly, because I know you're not going to cut me off in a minute. But I'm going to ask him every freaking question that you just asked, and 50 other ones, and I think I've got a good enough rapport with the guy. I like the guy. I know I'm not supposed to like him, but just like NJ said, he is a very likable guy, and he might be the smartest guy in the world, or maybe he's just a likable guy and he's misunderstood. I just think we give him a chance, and if you know what, if he can't answer the questions accurately and he can't give us a good responses, then we can have our opinions. But I just think we need to give him one more chance before he rides off into the sunset. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's up to you. It's up to you. It's up to you.
And then one last thing, then I'll get off your air here. I just have to plug the show Saturday night with Deet. We're going to do a show called Altered, and it's a call-in show only for all the hybrids, hybrids, experiencers, contactees, and starseeds. And you and Rita at home, eating your popcorn, drinking your vodka, you can tune in and listen. I think you're going to be entertained.
I think Saturday night. Well, we might be able to listen. I don't know.
Every Saturday night. So if it's not this week, every Saturday night.
Oh, you're plugging a new show on this show
every Saturday night, and I'm gonna mention Fade to Black during our show in a positive way. I just want to know if that's okay, because you are my inspiration. I'm not just saying that to try to smooth you over. I mean, because if it weren't for you, I would have never had the confidence to even talk to anybody on the radio, and I'm excited about doing this show.
All right. Well, good luck to you, man. It sounds pretty cool.
It's going to be fun.
All right, Eric. Behave and be well, okay? And quit drinking the Kool-Aid. I'll talk to you.
I'll talk to you later, bro.
Okay, man. Eric, Awakening Man. And with that, what a great show tonight. And I want to thank everybody not only that called in, but Twitter was just on fire. Thank you for all of that. And MJ Banias, and his website is Terra, Terra Obscura. .net. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. The book is called The UFO People, A Curious Culture, and it is due out in the next couple of days. Okay? And the links are up over at jimmychurchradio.com, and we have them up in Twitter. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. The show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2019 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, Fader night, open lines all night long. I want everybody to be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.